Definitely.
Um, my second question is, I've been an anti-government misfit punk leaning towards anarchism since my early teen years. But 2 years ago, when I began studying extensively your work, which led me to many other researchers and authors like David Icke, Larkin Rose, to name a few, everything became crystal clear that the cause of most problem on earth is the ignorance of natural law, which is the which result in the current human condition of slavery and the chaos that we see all around us. One of the most revealing video for me was your presentation entitled Cosmic Abandonment. I will put a link in the description below because it made me realize that slavery is not only our current condition, but evidences show that it has been deeply seated in our genes since our creation by some ancient beings thousands of years ago. According to many researchers like Zechariah Sitchin, who studied the Sumerian tablets. These beings have had sufficient knowledge about DNA to manipulate ours in a way that they were able to create a species that had enough brain functions to be efficient workers, but not smart enough to rebel against the authority. Over time, the human race evolved, but mentally and genetically, but in recent history and in recent history became a little more aware of their true natures and power. Social engineers nowadays are doing everything they possibly can to pursue that mission passed on to them by true royal bloodlines by these ancient beings. That mission, which is keeping us enslaved and maintaining our level of consciousness and vibratory state at a very low level through government, social media, technocratic institutions, so that we behave immorally in the aggregate and remain enslaved in accordance with the principles of natural law. In my view, the goal of the magnum opus, or the great work, is to deoccult this crucial information in order to make people aware of this hidden knowledge about their power to change their condition by changing the way they think and behave so that they truly become good person, manifesting order both inside themselves and outside the world instead of chaos. Can you expand a little more on that not so secret mission of the occult social engineers and what is the great work?
Absolutely. Well, this is what's going on all around us is social engineering, mind manipulation, mind influencing, straight up mind control, and this is done through the education system. This is done through the mass media. This is done through, everything that we see and hear in publications and in textbooks in school. People have to understand that the way that we behave is ultimately going to be informed by what content we have in our minds. And what informs that is going to lead ultimately to that behavior that gets expressed in the world. That's how reality is built. Something gets taken into our minds, we take that into ourselves, we process it, and then we behave according to what we think, according to what we just processed. And if the information is good and it's sound and it's true and it's in harmony with natural law and objective morality, meaning that we do understand the real difference between right and wrong, then the behavior that gets output as a result of what we just took in and processed and then uh, allowed to that information to inform our behavior, the behavior is going to be orderly. It's going to be geared toward freedom. It's going to give us what we say we want, the result that we say we want. It's going to result in the manifestation of order, goodness, absence of chaos, okay, or true order, and it's going to result ultimately in human freedom. If conversely we take in a bunch of mentally manipulated nonsense, okay, that is just put there to try to deceive and manipulate us into accepting lies, not understanding the difference between right and wrong, okay, and then we base our behavior upon that disinformation, bad information, deception, and outright lies. On the other side of that coin, we are going to output behavior that is in complete opposition to natural law. It's going to be in opposition to objective morality. And then the manifestation that we get on the other side is going to be chaos. It's going to be enslavement. It's going to be destruction.
The current
And
world situation.
that's it. And people just don't understand how that dynamic works. They don't understand when good information goes in and we understand what is true and we understand what is right, then our behavior is going to be based upon that. If we use our willpower to bring our behavior into alignment with that, and that's a big if. A lot of people can know what the truth is but not bring their behavior into alignment with it. We have to also exercise our will through our actions to bring our behavior into alignment with what we know to be true and right. If we do that, we get one result. If we don't do it, we get a completely different result. And the social engineers know this. The dark occultists of the world, they understand how this dynamic works, and they're using it to their benefit by keeping people ignorant of the truth of the difference between right and wrong, selling them a false version of morality that is based in government authority, which isn't true or isn't real or isn't right. Okay, anything that's false is eventually leads to complete immorality. If we take it in and then act upon it. But if we take in and act upon that which is true, we're going to live in a moral capacity and create order and freedom. The social engineers have known this since the dawn of human civilization, and they know it today, and they are willfully acting in the capacity of being deceivers and liars to the entire human species so that they hold our consciousness down so we don't understand the truth and the objective difference between right and wrong behavior. And so we constantly act in opposition to natural law and condone activity and behavior that is in opposition to natural law. This is a huge part of the whole world situation that has led to the current conditions that we face as a species, is that not only are people ignorant of these dynamics, but they condone behavior that is in direct abject violation of natural law. And that's leading to the worsening and the deteriorating of the current human condition. Not just the behavior itself, it's the condoning of that behavior. So it's all the people who condone government, who condone the violence of government and authority, who believe in authority and believe that these people have the right to do these things. I ask people all the time to consider the notion of kingship, okay, or pharaonic dynasties of the ancient world, kings of the ancient world, warrior priest kings from tribal cults, however, any of those forms of authority that you want to look at it, that was total authority vested in one human being, usually a male, although not always. Sometimes it was a female, but usually it was a male dominant figure, okay? And that individual had unquestioned, unchallenged, absolute authority. All authority was vested in that one being. And they dictated what the law was to other people. They considered the other people in the society their subjects, which is a euphemism. That's a way of saying that they are slaves. Okay, it's saying that I am the authority figure. You are those who are subject unto my will. That's called slavery, right? The kingship of the old world, all the pharaonic dynasties of the old world, any authority figure of the ancient world, that authority figure, whether it's called a pharaoh, a king, and any other name for it, is a master over his subjects, which are slaves. If we stop euphemizing it, we wouldn't even call it kingship or rulership. We would simply call it what it is: slavery. And was that ever moral? Was kingship, rulership, slavery ever in the history of humanity, was it ever moral? Was it ever something that was right for the king to enact upon all of the other people in that civilization? Of course it wasn't.
Of course
Anybody
not.
with a thinking, functioning brain can tell you that situation where one person is the unchallenged ruler or the master and everybody else is subject unto his will and has to do what he says, otherwise he faces the violence of his henchmen, if they're being honest with themselves, is going to tell people that is an immoral condition. That is not morality at all. Okay, so how could anybody today support and condone the concept of authority at all vested in government? Because all that is you take the authority that used to be vested in the one dominant male, the king, the warrior, priest, king, etc. Okay, the pharaoh, and you divest that authority, and instead of it being vested in one human being, it's now distributed. That authority is now distributed and divested into an oligarchical group of individuals that refer to themselves as government. That is all that has occurred. It's just a shifting of power from one person to an oligarchical few. Does that make it any more moral? No, it is the same concept. We have to stop euphemizing government authority. It is not just government, it is not just authority. Let's call it what it is. If we're being honest with ourselves, that is a group of people that consider themselves the masters of society, that is giving dictates that they call laws to the rest of their subjects, which are their slaves. All government is, all it ever has been, all it ever will be, is slavery. And it is a euphemized form of slavery. It's what I would refer to as covert slavery, because you're getting the people to believe that they're giving their power to these individuals to basically make these laws and run society, but they don't have that power. See, nobody has the power to command other people. Nobody has the power to say, I'm going to be the ruler of society through these things called laws, and you're going to obey them because I say so, or I'll send people to hurt you or jail you. Okay? If you don't have that power as an individual, then you cannot grant it or delegate it to any other individual or group of individuals. The delegation of a wrong is non-existent. No one can say, oh, well, I can't do this because it's morally wrong, but I can appoint someone else to do it, and then because I made this appointment or delegation, somehow it magically becomes morally right for them to do it. It cannot be done. If you don't have the right to give to someone, you cannot give someone a non-existent right, or in other words, say that I'm approving you to go out and do a morally wrong thing, a morally wrong behavior. And this is what people in our modern society still insist upon believing can be done at all. That's the main problem. They believe authority exists. They don't understand that the concept of authority is slavery, or they don't care. They don't understand that the concept of government is a euphemism for slavery, or they don't care. And as a result of that, they are creating slavery for everyone. They are creating continuous immoral conditions that lead to total disorder, chaos, slavery, and it's going to eventually lead to total destruction and annihilation of our species. And that is the current human condition. The current the work for us to do as aware individuals who understand that, which I refer to and many other philosophers, esoteric philosophers and researchers in the past have referred to as the great work, is to wake people up to these truths, not opinions, but absolute matter of fact truths in nature.